Alright, so with basically Mr. Sinister on his way into the movie universe, finally, I guess he's going to be introduced in the final Wolverine movie, I just wanted to talk about the potential that we could have here. The potential we could have for Mr. Sinister for the future of the Marvel movies. Now, the future X-Men movies, not Marvel-centric movies, they are still Marvel movies, but Disney doesn't want you to know that they're Marvel movies. They just want you to know the only Marvel movies that we want you to know about are the ones we do, not those. Anyway, so with obviously the tease of the Essex Corporation, we now have, confirmation that Sinister is finally on his way. Thank God. How long have we been waiting for Mr. Sinister? Guess what? A long-ass time. We've been waiting, literally, for the longest time ever. And for those who don't know, Mr. Sinister is my favorite Marvel villain. So, I'm really interested to see where this goes, especially with this whole Essex Corporation. I think it's a really cool idea that and it hasn't been, this has been done in the past before, where Mr. Sinister poses as a big business kind of guy and has his own lab. It's been done before. So it's not too far off from what Mr. Sinister is, and I do like the idea of him owning his own company. That way, it makes sense too. He's been around since the 1800s. He's been around since, Charles Darwin learned from him, more or less. Or sometimes they would lead you to believe that he learned from Charles Darwin. But yeah, his origin's always getting messed up. Anyway, so with Sinister, being part of the, X-Men movie universe and possibly making his introduction into the Marvel movies, the Marvel X-Men movies, I just want to talk about, where could you see him, and yeah, I don't want him to be a one-and-done villain. I really don't want him to be this one-and-done, let's just kill him off at the end of the film kind of movie. And it does give me hope, because my good friend Jason Voorhees 2011, he told me that Simon Kinberg, one of the major producers in the X-Men films, as well as one of the big heads who are in charge of the X-Men movies, said that, with Sinister finally on board, it gives us the potential to open new doors, and that would be a cool thing. I think it would be cool to have, much like Magneto, another recurring threat for the X-Men, and who better than, Mr. Sinister. And the fact that he's been around and in this continuity looks like he has his own corporation, his own business, yeah, I think there could be a lot of fun here. Now, obviously, Sinister is going to be a tackle to do, design-wise, because have you seen Sinister's costume? Have you seen Essex's costume? It's really hard to do. It's a lot of work. That is a very ambitious costume. Do I think it could be done? Yeah. Though I'm pretty sure we're probably not going to get the whole effect of him. I would love to see him in, the shredded cape, the red diamond on his forehead, stuff like that. I would love to see, the full-on Sinister costume, but I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty damn sure that, Fox is going to say, nope, let's just cheap out on it. Now, that's not to say, when they've done changes to villain appearances before, they haven't been, still threatening. Remember in Days of Future Past when, they introduced the Sentinels, and we all really hated the designs of both the future Sentinels and the past Sentinels? We really hated them at first, and then we saw them in the movie? Yeah. And then recently with Apocalypse, where they've changed the design. Well, it wasn't too far from the original design, but yeah, Apocalypse was still imposing at times. I wish he was just a little bigger, but, thanks to Oscar Isaac, who gave a really good performance, I feel like, yeah, he felt like a threat. So, yeah, but again, I'm kind of worried they may not get the full Sinister costume. They'll just get, they'll give him a face paint. They'll give him, the white face, the beard, the mustache, and the little red diamond, the short haircut, and the white skin, but I don't think they'll go on, full-on, black suit and shredded cape kind of thing. I don't think they'll go that far. But anyway, I'm getting a little off topic at this point. So, with Mr. Sinister, opens new doors. Obviously, at the end of the film, we saw him we saw members of the Essex Corporation taking Wolverine's DNA. So, like I said when I talked about the possibility of X-23 showing up, there's, I would not mind if, in this continuity you had Sinister as the one to create X-23. Because, yeah, in the comics they've kind of always alluded to Sinister helped Weapon X create X-23. They've never really said it out loud. They've kind of alluded to it a few times, but they've never really opened the door for, for saying, yeah, Sinister really helped Weapon X create X-23. But it makes sense. Yeah, hell, that's how I did it. I remember doing a video way back where I talked about how to do X-23 and say, yeah, use Sinister. It would make sense. And yeah, this is also how you can get Cable into the film. Obviously with Deadpool, Deadpool 2 on the way and them having Cable in the next movie, I think, it would be a really cool idea to have, Sinister, obviously, yeah, he has a hand in creating Cable because he creates Madeline Pryor, who marries Scott, they have a kid, and that kid is Cable, ta-da. So, yeah, through that. And the other thing is that I want him, even though, yeah, again, I'm pretty sure we're going to see him in the Wolverine movie first, I would like to see him in the X-Men films, because like I said, if anything, he's not, even though, yeah, he's a major X-Men villain, he's more of an enemy to Scott Summers than anybody else, because he's convinced in his mind that Jean and Scott are these two mutants destined to create a new mutant supremacist bloodline. He's convinced that the Summers bloodline is the greatest bloodline of all time. Like, he thinks it's the greatest mutant DNA ever. Like, if he can find a way to harnesses the Summer bloodline and control it, then he'll be God. He'll be worshipped as a god. He's created the master mutant race. It's very Nazi-esque when you mixed with Darwinism when you really think about it, and it's super creepy. Yeah. So, yeah, I really do want, again, I'm pretty sure we're going to see him there, but I don't want him to be killed off. And yeah, I'd like to see him in an X-Men movie. Maybe finally do an adaptation of Mutant Massacre. Have him introduced the way, in the comics where he was introduced hunting down the, using the Marauders to hunt down and slaughter the Morlocks because he found them genetically imperfect. Just have them all, just have them all kill each other, have the Marauders in there. Yeah, I feel like you could do that. Mutant Massacre is a very dark story, and it was a very, down note for the X-Men. So yeah, and you could continue to have him in the films. You could continue to have him as a major threat, just like, they keep bringing in Magneto again and again. You can have Sinister come back again and again. You can do that, he doesn't have... You could make it that he's not really the direct villain, but his actions... or he has a hand in some of it, kind of like Magneto, where, he keeps showing up, but in some of the films, he's not the direct threat. So have it that, you can do the same thing with Sinister, where you can have him show up, you can have him around, you can have him maybe create X-23, and he just unleashes her, create Madeline Pryor after Jean Grey's death, because, yeah, pretty sure we're getting another adaptation of the Phoenix Saga, so pretty sure that's coming around down the line, because Bryan Singer, how did I forget the name? Yeah, Bryan Singer talked about how he wanted to do a proper version of the Phoenix Saga, so I would, have him in there, like he harnesses Jean Grey's DNA or steals her body. Yeah, that could be another thing, like, have it after Jean Grey's death, he goes to her grave, digs her out, takes the body, creates Madeline Pryor. Thus you get the Inferno storyline, or a version of the Inferno storyline with Madeline Pryor becoming the Goblin Queen and all that. Although I'm not pretty sure... There's a part of me that would like to see Inferno because of just how bombastically crazy it is, but at the same time, I feel like they wouldn't go that far, with mystical demons already. You're already dealing with X-Men, and, obviously, if we're going to do the proper Phoenix Saga, then you would need to do the Shi'ar Empire, the Legion, the Imperial Guard. You need to do all of that. So, yeah, when you bring in demons with already mutants, I feel like, well, on the other hand, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is blending all these elements together, so I'm pretty sure Fox would be like, yeah, we can do that too, we just have mutants, so... yeah, let's just blend magic and cosmic stuff in there. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing that, and we're Marvel. We have Marvel characters, so let's just do that with the X-Men. Yeah, you could... yeah, now that I think about it, it wouldn't be much of a problem. Marvel's already doing that with their movies. They're blending magic and cosmic and political thrillers and all that. Why can't you do that with the X-Men in the movies? Pretty sure you can. Anyway. But yeah, again, I think it would be cool if you kept Sinister around. Don't kill him off. And I'm not saying that just because he's my favorite X-Men villain and probably not just one of my favorite Marvel villains, but also one of my favorite comic book villains in general. But yeah, I'd like to see him show up every now and again because he's a very powerful threat, and he's a dangerous threat, especially to Cyclops. Because the more I've been on a major X-Men kick, and and I finally realized Scott Summers is a really awesome character. Anyway, so you guys tell me, what would you like to see out of Sinister in the movies? What do you want to see done with him, and do you want to see him kept around for the X-Men movies? Really interested to see what you guys have to say, because again, Sinister's a character we've all wanted in the films, so I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot to say about this. But anyway, once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.